a girl whose voice could bring the entire town to a standstill, whom her parents called their life and soul, whom the whole town considered their own daughter. One evening, she left her home, and she never returned. 3 years later, in a burnt, abandoned house, only her bones are found. The police catch the killer, but the killer, without uttering a single word, defeats the law. And when he is released from jail, he goes straight to the restaurant owned by the girl's parents, and he mocks them. But little did he know, when the law becomes blind, the entire town finds its own justice, a justice that has no voice, a silent parade. Hello friends, and welcome to Detective Equation. Today, we are unlocking Keigo Higashino's most emotional, most complex, and most heartbreaking mystery to date, Silent Parade. This isn't just a murder mystery. This is a story of helplessness, of revenge, and of a truth that might completely shake your faith in the justice system. In this video, we will cover every character, every clue, and every twist in absolute detail. We won't skip a thing. So, if you love deep, slow burn mysteries, make sure to watch until the very end. Let's begin. The story begins in a quiet, small town in Tokyo, Kikuno City. Here stood a small but incredibly popular restaurant, Namikiya. It was owned by Yutaro Namiki and his wife, Machiko Namiki. Both were incredibly hardworking people, and their restaurant was the favorite hangout spot for the entire town. They had 2 daughters. The elder daughter, Natsumi Namiki, who helped her parents run the restaurant. She was calm, sensible, and always stood by her family as a pillar of strength. And the younger daughter, Saori Namiki, 20 years old, who was the absolute darling of the entire town. Saori was a quick learner, exceptionally sweet by nature, and there was a strange, captivating magic in her voice. Since childhood, she loved to sing. Whenever she sang, people would drop whatever they were doing just to listen. In Kikuno City lived a music producer couple, Naoki Niekura and his wife Rumi Niekura. When they heard Saori's voice, they felt as if they had discovered a rare diamond. They trained Saori professionally. Very soon, Saori was about to reach the absolute peak of her singing career. The entire town was eagerly waiting for her debut. Natsumi was the most excited for her little sister, and everyone at Namikiya felt immense pride just listening to Saori's songs. But one evening, Saori left her home, and she never returned. 3 years passed. The Namiki family was completely broken from the inside. Natsumi tried her best to hold her parents together, but there was always an empty void in the house, right where Saori used to be. And then, one day, the police arrived at their door. In a place called Shizuoka, a burnt, debris-filled house was discovered. Beneath the rubble, there were 2 bodies. One belonged to the owner of the house, an elderly woman, and the second was just a skeleton, burned down to the bones. A DNA test was conducted. It was revealed that those bones belonged to no one else but their beloved Saori. The bones in Saori's skull were brutally fractured, which meant she had been murdered without mercy. 3 years of waiting, 3 years of hope, everything ended in a single moment. The police immediately launched an investigation. Their attention turned to the step-grandson of the burnt house's owner. His name was Kenichi Hasunuma, a highly despicable, arrogant, and cunning man. When Tokyo Police Homicide Detective Kusanagi checked Hasunuma's background, the ground slipped from beneath his feet. Kusanagi remembered. 23 years ago, a 12-year-old girl, Yuna Motohashi, was also brutally murdered. And even back then, the prime suspect was this exact same man, Kenichi Hasunuma. But 23 years ago, Hasunuma exploited the biggest loophole in the legal system the right to silence. He did not open his mouth during the police interrogation. He didn't speak a single word. And when a suspect doesn't confess, and the police don't have a direct murder weapon or concrete evidence, the court cannot convict them. Hasunuma escaped the law 23 years ago, and unable to bear the trauma, Yuna's mother had committed suicide. For Kusanagi, this case wasn't just a file. It was an open wound, buried deep inside him for 23 years. And now, 3 years ago, he did the exact same thing to Saori. The police arrested Hasunuma. Kusanagi sat face to face with him, interrogating him day and night. But there was a demonic smile on Hasunuma's face. He didn't speak a single word. The exact same pattern, complete and utter silence. Due to a lack of concrete evidence, the court was forced to respectfully acquit Hasunuma. For Kusanagi, this was his ultimate nightmare. The exact same tragedy, repeating itself 23 years later. But Hasunuma didn't stop there. After being released from jail, he had the sheer audacity to walk straight into the Namiki-ya restaurant. He sat down in front of Saori's weeping father, Yutaro, and said, "The police framed me in a false case which ruined my reputation. Now, the Namiki family must pay me compensation." Hearing this, the blood of every townsperson standing there began to boil. Natsumi held her mother tightly, as Machiko was completely shattered. A murderer had killed their daughter and was now spitting right in their faces. A few days later, Hasunuma started living in Kikuno City, in a small shed behind the house of an old co-worker named Eiji Masumura. Masumura gave him shelter, which seemed incredibly strange to everyone. Why would a normal man give space to such a demon in his own home? Remember this question, friends, because you will get the answer at the very end of the story. Kusanagi was not alone in this entire case. Working alongside him was Detective Sergeant Kaoru Utsumi, a sharp, observant, and emotionally perceptive officer who was Kusanagi's regular partner. Utsumi's job was to view every angle of the case objectively. While Kusanagi was getting emotionally involved in the case due to his 23-year-old wound, Utsumi was the person who thought clearly, from a distance. Moving forward, this exact dynamic, Kusanagi's emotional involvement and Utsumi's cool-headed objectivity, will create a fascinating tension in their investigation. And around this same time, another highly important character returns to Japan. Manabu Yukawa, a genius physics professor, fondly known as Detective Galileo, had been researching in America for a while. He had now returned to Japan. Yukawa had an old connection to Kikuno City. He used to be a regular customer at the Namiki-ya restaurant. When he found out about Saori's case, he initially went just to show solidarity and offer his condolences, not as a scientist. But as events continued to unfold, encouraged by Utsumi, Yukawa slowly got deeply involved in the case. A few days later, Kikuno City's biggest festival arrived, the Kikuno Story Parade, also known as the Autumn Festival. This was not a simple parade where people just walked down the street. This was a massive team competition where different neighborhoods of the town built their own floats, and each float came with a short theatrical performance, complete with music, costumes, and props. This event was so popular that people from all over the country came to watch it. To prepare for this case, Detective Utsumi did thorough online research, carefully studying the parade's team competitions, schedules, and routes. She knew if any crime occurred on the day of this parade, the timing and choreography could be the key to the entire puzzle. This detail will prove to be incredibly critical later on. On the day of the parade, the streets were flooded with people, massive floats, beating drums, and people in colorful costumes were celebrating. Kusanagi and Utsumi were also present in the crowd for observation. After the parade ended, Eiji Masumura, walked into the shed in his backyard, and he saw Kanichi Hasunuma lying dead on his bed. Hasunuma had been murdered. But when the autopsy report came back, the police's heads began to spin. There was not a single mark of injury on Hasunuma's body. He hadn't consumed any poison, and no one had strangled him. His cause of death was asphyxiation, meaning he suffocated to death due to a lack of oxygen. And the biggest mystery of all, that shed was locked from the inside. A perfect locked room murder. The police assumed someone from the town had taken revenge. Suspicion fell on Saori's father Yutaro, her music producer Naoki, and Saori's boyfriend Tomoya. But the problem was, at the time of the murder, all these people were at the parade, surrounded by thousands of people. Everyone had a rock-solid alibi. Natsumi also came under the radar of questioning. After her sister's death, she harbored the most bitterness toward Hasunuma. But she also had a performance duty during the parade. She was seen serving customers all day at her family's restaurant stall, as confirmed by her friends and peers. Near that shed, the police found a small, empty helium gas cylinder. The police formed a theory that the killer must have released helium gas inside the shed, which depleted the oxygen and killed Hasunuma. But this theory didn't seem practically possible, because you cannot deplete the oxygen of an entire room with one small cylinder. From here, a new layer of this investigation unfolds. A rift started to form between Kusanagi and Utsumi. Utsumi noticed that Kusanagi was constantly looking at the Namiki family, especially Machiko and Yutaro, with deep sympathy. His 23-year-old guilt was preventing him from remaining objective. Utsumi flatly told him, "Sir, you have become so emotionally attached to the victim's mother that your judgment is getting clouded." Kusanagi did not like hearing this, but deep down, he knew Utsumi wasn't wrong. This tension isn't just for drama. It shapes the entire investigation. While Kusanagi wants to proceed with the assumption that the Namiki family is innocent, Utsumi wants to keep them equally on suspect list without any bias. When Kusanagi found himself stuck in a complete dead end, he, on Utsumi's advice, asked for help from his college friend and genus physics professor, Manabu Yukawa. Yukawa arrived in Kikuno City. He once again became a regular customer at the Namikiya restaurant and quietly began observing the people. Yukawa's brain ran on pure physics and logic, not emotions. He examined the shed, rejected the helium tank theory entirely, and presented a scientific theory that gave the police goosebumps. Yukawa told Kusanagi, the killer did not use helium gas, they used liquid nitrogen. That small helium cylinder was placed there just to mislead the police, so the investigation would head in the wrong direction. But where did the liquid nitrogen come from? And since everyone was at the parade at the time of the murder, who exactly killed Hasunuma? Yukawa connected the dots one by one. He revealed, to take revenge for Saori's murder, it wasn't just one person. The entire town had joined hands. This wasn't a single person's plan. This was a silent parade of revenge. Saori's father's best friend was a man named Shusaku Tojima. Tojima owned a food processing factory where liquid nitrogen was used on a massive scale to freeze food. Tojima stole the liquid nitrogen from the factory. But the most crucial question, how was that liquid nitrogen transported to Hasunuma's room on the day of the parade? Remember earlier when we mentioned this parade wasn't just walking. It was a performance competition where every team did a short theatrical presentation with their float using music, costume changes, and props. That exact thing became their perfect cover. Yukawa revealed, among the floats during the autumn parade, one of them featured a massive treasure chest prop, which was a part of their performance routine. There was no treasure inside that chest. Instead, a large tank filled with liquid nitrogen was hidden inside. This was exactly why Utsumi had studied the parade's exact schedules and routes in such detail, because in a perfectly choreographed performance routine, every float had to stop at a specific point for a specific amount of time to show off their performance. The killers took advantage of this very scripted pause. When the parade passed near Hasunuma's house, under the guise of the performance's scripted stop, utilizing the noise and the massive crowd, the float was halted there for a brief moment. They pulled a thin pipe from that tank and inserted it through a small hole made in the wall of Hasunuma's room. After that, they opened the liquid nitrogen valve. According to science, when liquid nitrogen hits the air, it rapidly expands into a gas, completely pushing out the existing oxygen from the area. Hasunuma was sleeping in his room. The moment the oxygen in the room hit zero, without any pain, without a single scream, Hasunuma suffocated, and he died. No one even noticed. And the killers comfortably rejoined their performance, as if nothing had ever happened. But one question still remained. Why did Eiji Masumura help the killers? Why did he let Hasunuma live in his house in the first place? Yukawa told the police. Masumura was actually the biological brother of the mother of the little girl, Yuna, who was killed 23 years ago. For 23 years, Masumura had swallowed the bitter poison of his sister's suicide, and he had given Hasunuma shelter in his home for one reason only, so that the people of the town could easily reach Hasunuma and kill him. Hearing this, Kusanagi felt his own 23-year-old guilt hit him all over again. Yuna's story, which was the biggest failure of his career, was now directly linked to Saori's case. Surya, when Kusanagi confronted all these people, Yotaro, Tojima, Masumura, they all confessed. But the story doesn't end here, friend. In Keigo Higashino's stories, there is always one final, soul-crushing twist. Yotaro and Tojima told the police their plan was never kill Hasunuma. Their plan was only to slightly reduce the oxygen in the room using that liquid nitrogen, just enough so that Hasunuma would suffer the fear of death, and out of pure terror, spit out the truth about Saori's murder. They had decided that they would extract a confession from Hasunuma. They were not supposed to murder him. But on the day of the parade, Father Yotaro couldn't make it there. In his place, the person who went to interrogate Hasunuma was Saori's music producer, Naoki Nikura. Naoki released the gas into Hasunuma's room and asked him, "Did you kill Saori?" Hasunuma confessed, "Yes, he killed her." Hearing this, Naoki was so consumed by rage that he didn't close the valve and deliberately left Hasunuma to die. The police thought the case was solved. Naoki had taken the murder upon himself, but Detective Galileo Yukawa was still not at peace. His logic told him a calm and composed man like Naoki wouldn't murder someone just in a fit of rage. There was something that Naoki was hiding. Yukawa went straight to Naoki's wife, Rume Nikura, and then emerged the biggest and most agonizing truth of this story, a truth that brought tears to Kusanagi's eyes. Yukawa told Rumi, Hasunuma did not kill Saori. In reality, 3 years ago, Saori wanted to quit her singing career. She loved her secret boyfriend Tomoya, and she wanted to live a normal life, far away from the spotlight of the stage. When she told Rumi about this in a park, Rumi became incredibly furious. Rumi and Naoki had invested their entire career, their money, their dreams, everything into Saori. An argument broke out between the two in the park. In a fit of blind rage, Rumi pushed Saori. Saori fell backward. Her head struck a stone. She started bleeding from the head. Saori fell completely unconscious. Rumi was terrified. She thought she had murdered Saori. She ran away from the scene. But Saori wasn't dead. She was merely unconscious. That night, Hasunuma was passing by. He saw Saori in an injured state, but a demon never helps anyone. Hasunuma picked Saori up, took her to his house, and after that, he himself brutally murdered Saori. Why? Because Hasunuma had seen Rumi push Saori. He killed Saori, burned the body in a hidden location, and after that, he started blackmailing Rumi. For years, Hasunuma quietly kept extorting money from Rumi. When Naoki found out about this, that his wife Rumi had pushed her by mistake, and Hasunuma was blackmailing his wife, that is when Naoki made his decision. Naoki knew that the townspeople only wanted to scare Hasunuma, but Naoki hijacked that revenge plan. On the day of the parade, he purposely left the liquid nitrogen valve open. He didn't murder Hasunuma because he was Saori's killer. Naoki committed the murder to save his wife Rumi from the suffocating grip of Hasunuma's blackmailing. When the whole truth came out, the protector of the law, Kusanagi, couldn't understand who he should punish and who he should let go. Here, Utsumi's role becomes incredibly important once again. Earlier, the same Utsumi who was pushing Kusanagi for objectivity was now sitting silently beside him, knowing that in this case, the line between right and wrong had blurred entirely. Naoki had absolutely committed murder, but he had killed a demon that the law couldn't even touch. Yutaro and the others had taken the law into their own hands, but their only goal was justice for a daughter that the system had forgotten. Silent Parade isn't just a book, friends. It is a massive slap in the face of the law and society. Hasunuma stayed completely silent about his murders his entire life. His silence defeated the law. But in return, the people who loved Saori also organized a silent parade. They all teamed up to kill the murderer, and they all stayed completely silent. One maintained silence to hide a crime, while the others maintained it for justice. And Detective Utsumi, who had shown Kusanagi his blind spots from the very beginning, finally understood in the end that sometimes justice and the law become two entirely different things. With this, Detective Galileo's most intricate and heartbreaking case was closed in the police files forever. So friends, that was the complete story. With every character, every clue, and every twist. Keigo Higashino's Silent Parade. If this story touched you deeply, then make sure to subscribe to Detective Equation. Here you will find similar deep, emotional, and mind-bending mysteries by Keigo Higashino, Agatha Christie, and Sherlock Holmes with full details, without skipping a thing. Let us know in the comments, do you think Naoki was right or wrong? Until then, we'll meet again in the next story.